Well, I wasn't sure the answer to this question, do I still think I'm going to need to do crack maintenance, until this large split started to form on my left foot after using the giant rasp. So I think, yes, I am going to have to still do crack maintenance. I've got some other cracks over here on the side of my foot that I'll be handling today as well, but really the impetus for this is this crack here on the ball of my foot is starting to really hurt. My theory around crack maintenance is to remove the heavy, dry skin that's around the crack. But what do you do when the skin is really thin? Well, as you can see here, even after rasping recently, this skin is still shavable, which means there's still thickness to be removed. And as I'm using my foot, that skin is hard enough or thick enough that it is pulling at the crack because there's not enough flexibility in it. And so as I've always treated my cracks, even now after using this new rasping tool, my goal is going to be to make the skin as soft as possible, as flexible as possible, all the way around the crack so that it's no longer being pulled at as much as possible. Because it's not actually like the act of walking or using my foot that's making this crack split. My foot can flex pretty far. It's just that this is the weak point. It's already split open. And so every time I am using my foot, because the skin is not flexing as much as it could if it were lower, it's yanking that crack open little by little by little. So I'm going to try and take the skin down as low as possible all the way around the crack until it doesn't hurt. At the beginning of this video, pulling my foot open like that was really actually hurting. I could feel it like ripping millimeter by micromillimeter every time I opened my foot up like this. It was hurting a little bit more. But already, as I'm taking the skin down thinner, it's not hurting nearly as much. So this gives me more confidence to go ahead and make sure I make it as thin as possible all the way around the crack, because then I will be able to pull my foot all the way open and the skin will be flexible enough that it won't keep yanking at the crack. I hope that makes sense. I also decided, I got a little carried away as I started. I realized that a lot of this yellow on the ball of my foot could be taken down lower. This is something every one of you guys has asked me, like, can't you do more on the ball of your foot? After you do a shave or after you rasp, it seems like there's so much more that could be taken off. And you guys are right to a degree, but it's all about what's actually possible. When the skin is freshly exposed after rasping or shaving, that underskin that is still yellow up there on the ball of my foot is so rubbery that it really won't come off. But as you can see here, there are lots of layers still to come off, but the tool can't get them. The skin is just too flexible, and also like it's just got this rubbery congealed texture that is really hard to get the blade into, and the rasp absolutely won't pull it off at all at a certain point. But now that it's been a few days, the skin has had a chance to dry out a little bit and also thicken up just a couple of days growth. And so I can come in here with the shaver now and pull off even more. And so I think this might actually become my regular routine, to use the rasp first and then a couple of days later use the shaver. Now I'm coming back in here over the crack one last time just to make sure it is really even and really as thin as possible. And now pulling my foot open, it doesn't hurt at all. It doesn't feel like it's ripping anymore, which gives me hope that it's going to heal up and feel a lot better soon. I will also make sure to use oil on that crack to make sure I keep the skin around it flexible while it's healing. You could use Vaseline, but I use Alba Unpetroleum Jelly, which is just like an all-natural type of Vaseline that doesn't have petroleum jelly in it. I really love that product. So as I'm going around, I'm starting to realize that I can do even more. There was this little crack up by my pinky toe that the rasp wasn't able to get. Not this one that I'm shaving now, but the one right here up next to my pinky. And I'm going to try and flex my foot and push that crack out a little bit like this, and then just shave it right off. So there are definitely limitations to the rasp. There were a lot of questions and concerns like, is this the end of the days of the shaver? RIP shaver, we love that thing. And my husband made a special handle for it. I have literally been using it since middle school, and I'm glad to say that it still has a place in my life because it is such a dear tool to me. It has served me and done so many great things for my skin over the years. It seems like it still has its place in crack maintenance and in continuing to thin the skin down once it's dried out a little bit after rasping. But for the general removal of all the hard skin all over my foot, I think the rasp is obviously the better choice. It does the job so fast, it does it really safely and quickly and comfortably, and so I think this might be the new process. I'm learning here along with you guys. I mean, I know what I'm doing to an extent, but I'm also doing experiments with new tools. So there's still learning to be had. And I am still able to get multiple layers off of this foot. And I keep going back into the parts that are yellow, the parts that feel a little thicker, seeing if I can take off any more. But this is about the point when I realized I'm not going to be able to get much more. And now I can flex my foot, and that crack is not cracking. For those of you wondering, these cracks don't feel like cuts. They feel like a deep scratch. They're not bleeding, but they're definitely tender.